Hello, and welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. And if you've been with me since January of 2023, you will know that Embracing the Fight is about normalizing the conversation surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns. Now, why is this important? Think about it. People walk around every day carrying things that they shouldn't carry because they feel like if they talk about it, people will judge them. So you have millions of people suffering in silence. We don't want that because what happens when you suffer in silence? You become depressed. You start to
Mm.
take things out on others. And worst of all, you may harm yourself. So let's not do that. Let's bring this community to many people so we can all begin to share our stories. That's what Embracing the Fight is all about. And if you've been with me since January 2023, you'll know that I started this conversation off talking about my journey through thyroid cancer. Now, before we go any further, have you subscribed? Have you clicked like? Have you clicked share? Have you commented on any of the episodes that you've seen? If you haven't, oh, don't worry about it. It's still time. I would love for you to check out the channel and let me know what you think. But now that I've gotten the business of everything out of the way, you will see that I have a very beautiful guest on the screen. And at this moment, I'm going to allow her the opportunity to introduce herself. Who are you?
Thank you, Erica. My name is Christine Trimpe. I am a certified Christian health and wellness coach. I'm a sugar licensed practitioner. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. I'm a joy seeker. First and foremost, I'm a joy seeker. And I'm also retired from a corporate career in accountancy to be able to go out on this new calling and this new passion in my life. So that is just, that's who I am.
Okay. I love it. And as always, when anyone comes on Embracing the Fight, people always ask, how did we meet? In this instance, we actually didn't meet. However, I would love for her to tell why she wanted to be on Embracing the Fight.
Yeah, so with my passion in health and wellness, my new passion, as someone who struggled with their health for 30 long years and kept very silent about my struggles and my suffering, I thought that this would be a wonderful way to have a conversation with your listeners to give them encouragement and support. I just don't want people living the way I lived for 30 years. And so I'm here today to share my story and hopefully to encourage people to open up and come into your community, join my community so that we can continue having this very important conversation. So I love the heart behind your podcast. And so that's why I'm here.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you coming because I myself struggle with what we're going to talk about right now. And this is episode 111. Want to be sugar freed? Let Christine Trimpe show you how. All right. So sugar for me is like, oh my goodness. I think it's the best thing ever because having a bad day, have a candy bar. If you need some energy, have a candy bar. If you just want something sweet, have a candy bar. And I know that's not, good for you and it causes you to gain pounds and everything,
Mhm.
but what was it that started your journey on becoming sugar free?
Yeah, I will start at my what I call my turning point day in the fall of 2015. So it's almost been 10 years now. I cannot believe I've been on this journey for 10 years. But
Wow.
I went to Rocky Mountain National Park with my husband. We were celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary, and I don't very often get him out of the house. So I was very excited to go on this trip with him. And he had quite a few hikes planned for us, and one of them being a hike up to Nymph Lake at the Bear Lake stop. For anybody that has been to Mountain National Park, you'll know exactly the place I'm talking about. So I looked at the trail marker for Nymph Lake and it said a half a mile. And I thought, I can do a half a mile. Like that doesn't sound very far, right? But
Right.
as soon as we got to the trailhead, I looked like straight up and I was like, oh no, I'm in trouble. So, but I wanted to give it my best effort. And so I started the climb with him. And I was probably what I thought maybe halfway to Nymph Lake. And I just could not go another step further. I was gasping for air. My body was hurting. And in fact, my body was just saying, no, like you cannot do this. You cannot go another step further. I did tell my husband, I go on without me. And
Mhm.
he was like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm positive." There was a stump on the side of that path. So I sat there. And in that moment of despair, like here, I'm supposed to be on an exhilarating hike in nature with my husband. But honestly, I was exhausted. I was exasperated. And I was just at my wit's end with what was going on in my life. And I knew the reason I had to sit down. At that time, I was struggling with morbid obesity, which had been an eventual, over the years, I had been obese for many years, 30 years, in fact. And it went from being overweight to being obese, and then finally being classified as morbidly obese, which is no one wants to hear that, right? It just does
Right.
not sound good, but that's where I was. And that's why I was gasping for air. And so sitting on the side of that path that I have this take ownership moment. I'm my life is flashing before me. At the time I was only 48 years old and I'm wondering, am I going to live to see my grandchildren? Am I, what is the purpose of this? Like, why can't I get this right? I'm a professional career woman. I can get everything else right in my life, but I could just not get this one thing right. But really something settled in my heart that day because I remember saying a simple prayer, God, I just want to feel better. I
Mhm.
had given up hope of ever losing a significant amount of weight and keeping it off because I'd been trying that for 30 years, but I just wanted to feel better. And thank God I came home from that trip with a new determination and a new resolve in my heart. I set a doctor's appointment that Monday when we got home. I called a sleep doctor, and that was my very first practical step that I took of medical intervention that got me on the path to my quitting sugar journey and on this amazing ride that I've been on for the last 10 years.
Okay. So at this point, when you're sitting on this stump, did you have any idea what your weight was at this point, or you were just kind of guessing? Because I myself, I'll tell you, when I started gaining weight, I started walking past the scale. I stopped,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
not holding myself accountable. I wasn't looking at anything. I was just, no, I know it's going up, but I don't know how much. So did you know at that point what your weight was?
I had an idea and I did not weigh myself a lot because just like you, I did not want to stand on the scale. But I remember back, like this was in September 2015. Back in June of 2015, for some reason, I got on the scale the day that my daughter graduated from high school. And I was counting points. I was using the Lose It app. I was keeping track of everything. I was exercising. And I got on that scale and it said 230 pounds. And like that was just deflated my spirit. I was so upset. And now I probably at one point in my life, probably up in the 240s, 245 was probably my highest weight ever. But I just really didn't keep track that much. But I was definitely at least 100 pounds overweight. And so for my very short frame, I'm only 5 foot 1 inches tall. So yeah, so I had an idea. I hadn't lost any significant weight from the time that I weighed myself in that June, and so then this is September. Definitely morbidly obese. That
Mhm.
much I do know.
Okay. And
Yes.
beyond being winded, going up, trying to get up to
hmm
Nymph Lake, did you have any other issues that you were noticing, like with your blood pressure, cholesterol, or anything like that, or was it just being winded?
No, I was exhausted every day,
Hmm.
chronically exhausted every day. And I can recall sitting in my corporate office. I had a private office at the time, and I would just want to shut the door at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and take a nap. And I never really did that, but man, I sure wanted to. And now I know in hindsight that that was when my blood sugar was crashing after a diet or after a lunch that had been loaded with carbohydrates, whether they were healthy carbohydrates or not, they were still impacting my blood sugar. I did, my joints were so sore all the time. I was facing knee surgery. A doctor a few years before that had said, if you don't get this weight off, you're going to have knee surgery. So I was just pushing through that pain. And I was having painful ovarian cysts at the time. So very shortly after coming home from that trip, I had an ultrasound. My doctor wanted to diagnose if that's what was going on, this pain. And sure enough, it was. But also, the diagnosis from that ultrasound was fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So they discovered in that abdominal ultrasound that my liver was full of fat. And so all these things were piling up. Plus, I had prediabetes. And plus, I had already been told that I had metabolic syndrome and I had insulin resistance, but nobody really explained all that to me. So you can see at 48 years old, all of these things were piling up.
Mhm.
And overall, just making me exhausted every single day.
Mhm. And I just want to say before we go any further, you look absolutely amazing. Like you never, were overweight at all in your life.
Yeah.
Like
Thank you.
everything. I mean, you look perfect. Just a beautiful
Yeah.
woman. And I'm
Oh, thank
glad that you were able, to get past all
you.
of this. But when you were
Mhm.
sitting in that doctor's office and he was giving you this laundry list of things that you just
Mhm.
mentioned about the fatty liver and the insulin resistance and the issue with the ovaries and all of that, how did you feel in that moment?
Mm. Again, this was after I came home from that trip, so I already had a little niggling in my heart that I was going to do the thing. Like this time it was going to be different. And I can't fully explain it because it just was something that I felt was stirring in my spirit is the best way to explain it. So when I heard that I had fatty liver disease, I immediately wanted to know, why is my liver full of fat? Now, my doctor kind of poo-pooed that part of my diagnosis because she was my gynecologist and she was more concerned about the ovarian cyst. So I did my own research about the fatty liver disease, and that's what took me down the rabbit hole of learning more than anybody had ever taught me before about what sugar was doing to my health, what why I had prediabetes, why I had insulin resistance, why I had metabolic syndrome, was learning all of this stuff about sugar that nobody had ever taken the time to explain to me. When doctors had told me in the past, you have insulin resistance, no one mentioned that, like, let's examine your diet. What are you eating? And even if I was eating healthy, I was still filling up on a lot of bread, a lot of potatoes, a lot of pasta, a lot of starchy foods, which turns into sugar as soon as it hits your digestion. So that's what was keeping me stuck for all of those years. I could be on other diet plans, and believe me, I did a lot of them over the years. And, as soon as I would be eating a half a potato or whole wheat bread or whole wheat pasta, it just kept me spinning my wheels because of the insulin resistance. So now I'm starting to learn all these new things about how sugar fuels inflammation, how sugar fuels weight gain, how sugar drives disease. And I just had an epiphany. I'm like, that's it. I need to eliminate all of the sugar that's going into my mouth, even though I wasn't eating rows of Oreo cookies. I was not eating a half a gallon of ice cream at the time. My sugar of choice was more the savory sugars, like the breads, the potatoes, the pastas. And I did have a fondness for Ruffles potato chips as well, too. But, those were the kind of things. Yeah, I really needed to examine that and figure that. And that was the thing, that was the getting that fatty liver diagnosis was the thing that was most frightening to me, that put me down this path of examining exactly what my diet, my standard American diet, was doing to my health.
Okay, because it's interesting that you talk about the fatty liver because I actually went to the hospital. I had to go by ambulance actually because my gallbladder, had some issues. And when I got there, they did all these tests and they came back and I was reading it because they didn't say anything about it. They were like, you have fatty liver. And I was like, what does it even mean? I was like, I don't drink alcohol. And I looked and I saw, where there was an issue with sugar. And I was just like, oh man. So I need to do
Yes.
something about this. So tell me how it is that I can become sugar freed.
All right. So once you get these diagnoses, or if you've been struggling with weight loss and it's stubborn and you just like, even if you can't lose that last 20 pounds, or if you have 100 or more pounds to lose, really, I want you all to examine the sugar that's in your diet because you will be surprised. Sugar is in everything. It's
Yeah.
in granola bars. It's in our healthy yogurt, right? So we can switch to plain Greek yogurt. But it's in so much. So what you need to do is really start. The first thing to do is to examine what you are eating. Like jot down for a couple days and look at the labels of everything that you're eating and add up the sugar that you are consuming. You will be surprised. and not pleasantly surprised. But we all know that sugar's in everything. It's in all the factory foods, right? So, what I did is I began a step-by-step journey of eliminating the sugar that I was putting in my mouth. And the first thing I did was I stopped drinking coffee cold turkey
Oh,
because I
wow.
was drinking a little bit of coffee and a whole
Mhm.
lot of flavored French vanilla creamer, right? So I was starting every day full of sugar, right? I was kicking off my day with a big, and I would have 2 or 3 cups at the office. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I started. And then a couple days later, I swore off all of the candy in the office. I worked in a, you would walk by and grab a Tootsie Roll because it's just mindless. And I worked in an office with a bunch of women. So there was a lot of food in the coffee room. There was a lot of, treats and stuff. So no coffee with sugar creamer, no candy, no, then I'm not going to do the brownies and the cakes for the birthday celebrations. I'm not doing that. It seemed like every week someone was having a birthday. And then I started reading labels. And then I stopped eating foods that had sugar on the labels. And sugar goes by 50 or more names on ingredient labels. So,
Yeah.
we have to be aware of exactly what is sugar. So I just did a step-by-step approach. I am a huge advocate for habits and the habit loops that we create. And I always say to encourage people that small habit changes build and they deliver big results. And that's exactly what I did. And that's exactly how I coach my clients and what works. I anybody that can quit sugar cold turkey, God bless them. Like that's super amazing. But I think the step-by-step approach and building these small habit changes, then we can celebrate the small wins, and small wins are so motivating. So that's what I would recommend to like start getting off the sugar.
Okay. And what was your biggest win?
Mm. My biggest win was, of course, the massive weight loss was wonderful. Getting to a healthy weight is wonderful. And by the way, I'm still on this journey. Like I've been maintaining a healthy weight for 7 years now, but yeah, it's amazing. But I still have goals. I'm still trying to get into the fitness range of body fat percentage, which I've never been a fit person in my, athletically fit person in my life. I know that you know what that means.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm pursuing still. So I'm still on this journey as well. But my biggest win was my change in my mental health and my spiritual health, because I did not know how miserable I was until I had this new joy overflowing in my life. And it wasn't because of the weight loss. It was because of the mental clarity. And it was truly a change in heart. Like I approach life so differently now. I'm the same person, but I'm a very much different person. Uh, Stepping into this freedom and what I say the freedom and greater joy of living, not just striving to live now actually living and thriving in good health and good mental health is like, I can't even explain that's like the ultimate prize.
Mhm. And you've lost 100 pounds. And that in
Mhm,
itself, is an amazing feat. And you also
mhm.
just spoke of how, your mindset changed, how you changed to become a health coach as well. So is
Yes.
this
Yeah.
what drove you to leave corporate America to become a health coach? And also you're a published author as well. Could you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, yeah, yes. So this journey has been unbelievable. I am so honored and privileged to help women, move on to the next step of their health and wellness journey. Because what happened to me when you start losing a massive amount of weight, people notice. And as much as of an introvert that I am, and as much of a very, quiet person that I was very willing to sit down over coffee with people locally. And so that's how my coaching really began, was I would get questions from people from my church or friends and family. And so I would go and sit down and have coffee with them. And it was delightful to tell them like I don't eat sugar anymore and any like no forms of sugar, and this is what's happening to me. And people might understand it better as a low carb lifestyle, right? I want really low carb and focusing on protein and healthy fats is what I eat every day. So I'd explain to them, but it was even more joyful to just sit and tell them how my life has changed internally and mentally, right? So I've gone on this. So I was very excited to tell them everything that God was doing in my life. And then I just started getting more confirmation. I spend every morning, first thing in the morning, I pick up my Bible and my coffee and I spend time in scripture, just surrendering my day to the Lord, surrendering this weight loss battle to the Lord, surrendering my life, like, Lord, what do you have for me? And it became very evident over time that I was to leave my corporate career and start serving women. And so that was really exciting. It was a very difficult decision to make, leaving a nice corporate salary, and to go into coaching and, seeing if people would even want me to help them. But that's what I did. And then out of that experience, everything that I went through, I was able to write about it, blogging and creating a coaching program. And the coaching program and my book, my brand new book called Sugar Freed,
Mhm.
Stop Losing the Weight Loss Battle, Start Gaining the Victory, work hand in hand. The coaching program is also under the label Sugar Freed, the Sugar Freed Me Weight Loss Solution, and just putting everything together, like all of the steps that I took and what I focus on daily in living a healthy lifestyle. I have 5 pillars of my lifestyle. It's food, fasting, feelings, which is really the hardest part, feelings, fitness, and then it's all grounded on faith. So those are the things I talk about all day. They're all throughout my book. They're in my coaching program. They're in every message that I share online, just to help women if they can just, wrap their minds around the fact that there are things that we need, that we can pay attention to that are going to transform our health. So that's kind of where my book, the book was that just released, and it was a 7-year project in the making,
I
which is
understand.
kind of
Believe me, I
crazy.
understand.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's a long time. Yes. Hmm.
But no, I understand because I've been writing a book since, Lord, it's been almost 10 years because I pick it up, put it down, pick it up,
Wow.
put it down. So I'm like,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
really need to get it together and continue to write. But
Hmm.
if someone out there listening says, hey, I want to get a copy of her book and I want her to be my health coach, how do they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on my website by my name, ChristineTrimpe.com. And in the menu, if you see up in the top right corner from your laptop or your desktop, you can grab a free chapter excerpt of my book. So then you'll get a little taste of it and then a link to where to purchase it. But the book is on Amazon, but I do have a whole web page on my website for the book, and I have a whole web page about the coaching program. So all the details are there.
Nice.
And then, the best way to connect with me is by getting on my email list.
Okay.
And that way you can, learn about what I have to how to help you. And I send emails pretty much every day with short stories of inspiration too, just to keep women like keep their health front and center and how to go on this health journey and honor the body that God gave them and step into a life, a calling that He's put on their life and to, I always say when we feel better, we serve better. And I really think that that's what it's all about.
That is so
Mhm,
true. So if,
mhm,
say there's a group of ladies that's watching today and they're going through similar health struggles, what
mhm.
advice would you give them on getting started?
Ooh, yes. Again, let's go back to examining the food that we are putting in our mouth
Mhm.
and consider the dietary mantras that we've lived by for so many years. Like these are the things that we have been brought up, that have been hammered into our heads. Eat less, move more.
Yep.
Count your calories, everything in moderation. Well, now, as someone who also I testify and confess to the fact that I am a recovering food and sugar addict. And that is, I want to give people hope. I want to also tell you that this is not entirely your fault because of the food environment that we've been raised in. The food that we have been raised eating is physiologically addictive. It's hyper palatable, meaning they want you to keep coming back for more. Like you mentioned candy bars earlier. The marketing for Snickers bars is Snickers satisfies, right? Well, does Snickers satisfy? It satisfies you in the moment, and then it makes your blood sugar crash, and then you're looking for more sugar, right? And
True.
sugar is not a very great fuel to live by, to rule what we want to burn. Like we want to burn fat for fuel as opposed to burning sugar, because when we're burning sugar, we don't get to tap into that fat store. So that's the first thing I would do is really examine what you are eating. And then a practical tip that I can give people is to think about how you grocery shop
Mhm.
and just focus on grocery shopping on the perimeter of the grocery store. That's where you're going to find your whole foods, where those foods don't necessarily need an ingredient label, and you're not going to find sugar hiding in chicken breast or meat or fish or dairy or eggs, and your fruits and vegetables. Those are whole foods. I call it God's good smorgasbord. And really, that's what I eat from. And that is what has helped me heal my body. The food that I eat has actually healed my body without any drugs, without potions, without skimpy prepackaged meals. I can cook foods from the perimeter of the grocery store and focusing on protein and highly satiating and satisfying, much more satisfying than a Snickers bar. And then that really what's that old saying? Let food be thy medicine and let medicine be thy food. We really can heal our bodies with food. And here's more hope. I talked about the sugar addiction. We can quiet those cravings. We can quiet the food noise. We can crush sugar cravings and make them go away to an extent. Um, and that's really a beautiful thing. I call that living in food serenity.
I love it. It sounds like to me you're
Hmm.
coming out with a recipe book soon too, with the whole foods and everything. I would love to see that. But is there anything else that you would like to share with the listeners?
I would just like to remind them again that this weight loss battle is not entirely your fault. Again, because of how we've been exposed to the food that we've been exposed to. I don't know about you, but I was raised with the little Debbie Swiss cake rolls in my pantry all the time, right? And out of convenience, if I could have a do-over with my kids, I would. Out of convenience, I was feeding them Chef Boyardee raviolis and chicken nuggets and French fries. It's just if we can stop and think about what we're putting in our mouth, that's where the real change can take place. And just you don't have to go all gung ho today and quit sugar completely. Do it
Good.
over a couple of week period, right? Do it over a couple. Again, those small habits will build, and that's where you'll get the results. You'll get those small wins. But this is a journey worth taking. It will probably be one of the hardest things you ever do in your life, but your health is worth it. Like we hear that all the time. You are worth it. But just to wake up every day and have more energy and not to live chronically exhausted, this is the encouragement that I would want to give everybody for the reasons to eliminate as much sugar from your diet. And again, sugar is driving disease and it's fueling inflammation and it's zapping your energy. So that should be great encouragement.
It is. It's absolutely amazing encouragement. And then I was thinking while you were talking, I was like, I picked up all my bad habits as an adult because my parents,
Oh,
they had a garden. They
mhm.
had we had fresh eggs and things like that, growing up,
Mm.
chickens and pigs and we had our
Oh,
own cows and stuff. So I was a perfect size, all through high school and college.
yeah.
When I got out, it was like, oh, I can eat what I want. And this is what happens when you eat what you want. So
Yeah. And
so
it's
you
just convenience.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what
It
it's
is a
all about.
matter of convenience for sure.
But you have been an amazing guest, and I thank you so much for coming on today.
I thank you for having me. It was really nice to talk to you and to give a voice to
Mhm,
some of the things that we don't like to talk about. Oh, one thing I did want to mention too is that when I talk with the women that I coach,
mhm,
just like me, I didn't even discuss how upsetting this was to me with with my own husband. Like we just do not want to give voice to it. We just continue to wear masks. And then those of us that are addicted to food and sugar, we cope with food and sugar. And it's just a cycle, but it's a cycle that can be broken. I want to give hope for that.
You keep dropping so many gems and so much encouragement. I look forward to getting more information about being sugar-free and embracing the fight family. You will see the changes in me, I promise, because I've been so inconsistent. But you are showing me that it can be done and it takes time, it takes
Yes.
consistency.
Yes. Yeah. Right on.
All right. Well, thank you all for taking a moment out today to watch this episode of Embracing the Fight. And as always, I want you all to have an absolutely amazing day.